Welcome to AI in Real World. In this video series, we are building an AI-powered recruiter voice assistant. If you're just joining us, hit pause and check out the earlier episodes of the series first. Link is in the description. I promise it will make everything you see here a lot more meaningful and easier to follow. Here is a quick recap. So far, we have seen how our AI-powered recruiter voice assistant steps in to help screening, evaluating, and recommending candidates without the recruiter lifting a finger. We have built three core agents. First, resume agent, which reads the resume and extracts insights. Second, interview agent, which drives a structured 30-minute voice interview. And finally, an interview evaluation agent, which scores the candidate and gives a final recommendation. All powered by LLMs with clear roles, structured prompts, and database persistence. Let me give you a quick architecture recap of how this whole system works end to end, just to refresh your memory before we dive into the episode. So here's what happens. A recruiter uploads the candidate's information into Superbase, then send out a Calendly link to the candidate, who picks up a time that works for them. When the time rolls around, APScheduler kicks in automatically and kicks off the interview flow. If we have got a resume on file, we run the resume agent first just to get a sense of candidate's background and pre-fill some context. Then the interview agent takes over. It actually calls the candidate using WAPI. So we are doing this over the phone, real-time, voice-based. The agent asks the questions, listens, follows up. It's a full conversation. Once the call ends, the evaluation agent jumps in. It goes through the transcript, scores the candidate, and generates a summary. And the best part, everything is saved. All the raw data, all the transcripts, all the evaluations, it's all logged. So now the recruiter has a complete picture of how the candidate did, even without being on the call. If you're interested in building an AI-powered assistant like this, or would like to build something completely custom, or would like to explore how to integrate AI in your business, we can help. Schedule a free consultation call with us. Link is in the description. If you're interested in videos like this, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. Here's what we're going to cover in this episode. First, we'll explore how we can test the entire interview flow without needing real candidates. We'll walk through the simulation agent I built that pretends to be a candidate, answering questions, going off topic, hesitating, basically giving us a playground to test everything the interview agent might face in real interviews with real candidates. Then we'll go deep into automation. We'll look at how we auto-start interviews using APScheduler so interviews actually begin at the scheduled time with no human needing to press go. After that, we'll talk about Calendly, how we handle webhooks. How do we extract the candidate's name, email, phone number, and scheduled time and save it to the Superbase so the rest of the system knows what's coming? We'll walk through all of it. Let's dive in. Let's talk about testing the interview agent. Now, we did start by testing it using plain text chat. And yes, it works. But let's be honest, it gets tedious. Typing out answers for every single interview question, even just simulating one 50-minute interview starts to feel like a chore. And here's the thing. We're not just testing one kind of candidate. We want to simulate a variety of candidates. Some who give strong, well-structured answers, and others who ramble, hesitate, or just missing the point entirely. With each of these different personas, we want to run the evaluation agent too, to make sure the system actually evaluates people appropriately based on how they perform in the interview. That's why we needed a better way to simulate the whole flow without manually typing everything out. So I thought, why not simulate the whole thing? What if we had one AI agent playing the interviewer, another AI agent acting as the candidate? Let them battle it out. No typing, no clicking. Just sit back and watch the conversation unfold. That's exactly what I built with the simulation agent. Let's walk through the code and see how it works. Code for the simulation agent is an interview_simulation Python script under the src directory. At a high level, there are two agents in this setup. First, we got the interview agent. This is the same exact agent we have seen before. And then there is the candidate agent. a brand new agent we spin up on the fly based on candidate's specific personality and skill level. Both these agents take turns like a ping pong match. Interviewer asks, candidate replies, interviewer follow ups, and so on. Once the conversation finishes, we pass the full transcript to the evaluation agent. So not only do we get a simulated interview, we get an automatic score and summary, just like we would after a real call. The way we build the candidate agent is pretty cool. We have a prompt template that controls how the simulated candidate behaves. We can set personality traits like low confidence, poor communication, or go the other way with strong communicator, sharp and confident. And the skill level, totally customizable. You want someone who wants an expert in .NET, C#, SQL, and nails system design? You got it. Or maybe someone who is technically weak but super confident and charming? Done. We even pull a test candidate from Supabase to simulate the same flow as the real user. Then, just like in production, we run the resume agent to kick things off with some context. We also track message history for both sides, candidate and interviewer, so the transcript builds up just like a real chat. Now comes the fun part, the interview loop. This is where two agents go back and forth in a full-length conversation. We simulate about 22 turns, which mimics a 15 to 20-minute phone interview. Each turn, the candidate replies, the interviewer follows up, and the dialogue builds. You will see logs alternating between candidate and interviewer, just like in a real-time conversation. Once the loop ends, we stitch together the full transcript, sends it to the evaluation agent. The result, you're not just testing one piece of the system, you're testing the entire pipeline: resume parsing, real-time conversation, and evaluation. And what's really fun is how flexible this is. You can spin up all kinds of candidate personas: low confidence, poor communicator with zero .NET experience, or overconfident with strong .NET experience. Each one triggers a different reaction from the interviewer agent, and you will see that gets reflected in the evaluation summary and scores too. So why this is awesome? Because now you can test the full system without waiting on real candidates. You can debug things quickly, fine-tune prompts, and test edge cases like vague answers or weak resumes. You can simulate failure modes and see how the system holds up. And most importantly, you're using AI to test AI. No mock calls, no scheduling, no volunteers, just code. Now, let's see the simulation agent in action. Let's first simulate the interview with personality set to high in confidence, strong communication, and skills set to expert in .NET, C#, SQL, strong in concepts and system design. To run the simulation agent, just type Python src interview_simulation.py. Let's run. Now just sit back and watch the interview in action. First, we are seeing the candidate resume is passed to the resume agent. We get the summary from the resume agent, which is passed to the interview agent. The interview agent now has started the interview. The candidate is now responding to the questions based on the persona that we have set up: high in confidence and strong technical answers. Let's review a response from the candidate for a technical question. The interviewer asked, "Can you explain async await in C#, and when would you use it?" The candidate actually gave a very strong response for this question, and you can see the detailed response here. As you can see, the interview goes on automatically, interviewer asking the question and candidate providing a response. The interview simulation is now complete with about 22 turns, simulating a 15 to 20-minute interview. The interview agent asking everything it needs to ask following the prompt. The transcription of the interview is sent to the evaluation agent, and the evaluation agent evaluated the interview and gave us a scorecard, summary, and a final recommendation. The final recommendation for this interview is recommend, and this is in line with the persona that we set for the candidate. It also gave a perfect score of 5 for system design, hands-on coding, communication, confidence, ownership, and problem solving. And the summary of the evaluation reflects what we saw in the candidate's response: strong and confident, based on the persona that we defined for the candidate. That's a fully simulated interview, testing a full interview involving all three agents. Let's run the simulation again. This time with personality set to low confidence, poor communication, and skills set to no experience with .NET C# SQL, weak in concepts and system design. This time we want to see the evaluation agent not recommending the candidate and low scores in the scorecard. Let's run. Based on the persona that is defined, you can see the candidate's response is low in confidence and weak. For example, the interviewer is asking if the candidate has experience building distributed or real-time systems. The tone of the candidate response, as you can see, is weak. It says, I haven't really built anything like that. I don't have experience with those types of systems at all. So this response clearly reflects the persona that we defined for the candidate. Simulation is now complete, and we have the results from the evaluation agent. So based on the transcript, the evaluation agent issued a not recommend for the candidate with very low scores. This proves all our agents are working as expected. With this, we can confidently move to the next step. Look at the power of LLMs. We can not only able to simulate a 20-minute interview call, but we can test different candidate personas with ease. That's the true power of AI. Now that we have got all our agents working, resume, interview, and evaluation, it's time to bring in automation. Imagine this. A candidate books an interview through Calendly, and when the scheduled time arrives, the whole process just runs itself. Resume gets parsed, interview happens over the phone, evaluation is generated and stored in the database. No manual steps, no human in the loop, just smooth automation. Let's break down how we can make that happen. If you're not familiar with Calendly, it's a scheduling tool that lets candidates pick a time slot that works for them. Behind the scenes, Calendly can send webhooks to our backend when certain things happen, like a meeting is scheduled, a meeting is rescheduled, or a meeting gets cancelled, which means Calendly can notify our system exactly when it needs to act. So what do we actually need to build here? Step 1, we need to listen for the Calendly webhook. Step 2, we receive that webhook, we extract the scheduled time and the candidate's phone number. Step 3, at the exact time of the interview, we trigger the whole pipeline: resume parsing, interview, and evaluation. Now, there are a few ways you can handle that scheduling. You could use something like n8n for this. n8n receives the Calendly webhook, then n8n somehow triggers your Python app later at the scheduled time. That works. But in our case, adding another orchestration layer felt like overkill. We are already running a Python backend, so why not keep it all native? So instead of using n8n or Zapier, we use APScheduler, a lightweight Python scheduling library that can trigger any function at a given time. It runs inside the same app as our fast API backend. We register jobs in memory and persist data to handle restarts. It's simple, fast, and easy to integrate directly with our logic. And just like that, we got real-time automation. As soon as the Calendly webhook fires, we schedule the job in APScheduler. When the time comes, the interview agent makes the call, runs the show, and passes everything to the evaluation agent. No buttons, no reminders, just automatic, hands-free interviews. All right, let's talk about APScheduler. APScheduler is a lightweight and reliable scheduler for Python. It does exactly what we need: run something at a specific time, and most importantly, it supports persistent storage. That means even if our app restarts, scheduled jobs like interviews are still safe and do not disappear. Let me show you how we wired it up. We define our scheduler in tools scheduler.py, and we use Supabase Postgres as the backend to persist jobs. So anytime an interview gets scheduled, that job is saved to the database. If the app crashes or restarts, no problem. It will still run on time. We also set a misfired grace time, basically a 5-minute buffer in case the system is a little late to pick up the job. Super handy in a real world deployment. Start the scheduler, we have a simple start_scheduler function. We call it once when the app boots up. That's it, no fuss. Then there is trigger_interview. This is the function that actually kicks off the whole process. It calls our run interview coroutine within the hood, which handles everything: resume analysis, voice call, and evaluation. And we made sure it works both inside and outside of an async event loop. Now let's talk about the key one, schedule_interview. This function registers a new job with the scheduler. We pass in the candidate ID, the schedule time, and an event ID from Calendly. That job ID helps us track and manage it cleanly. When the time comes, APScheduler runs the job and triggers the interview. And of course, we have a cancel interview function. If a candidate cancels or reschedules, we remove the original job from the queue, and we don't waste compute or end up calling someone who's no longer available. So why does APScheduler work so well here? Because it is lightweight, no external orchestration tools needed, persistent, backend, backed by existing Supabase database, flexible, supports both async and sync flows, and most importantly, fully integrated into our Python app. Okay. So now you know how interviews get scheduled using APScheduler. But what exactly happens when the scheduled time rolls around? Let's walk through the flow. Every scheduled interview is tied to a unique job ID. Now, when the time comes for that interview to start, APScheduler runs a function called trigger_interview. And this function, it's doing all the heavy lifting. Inside, it calls our function run_interview passing the candidate ID. The function is in the interview Python script under services. Run_interview function parses the resume, runs the actual voice interview using the interview agent and WAPI, and then finishes off with the evaluation agent analyzing the transcript and storing a scorecard. So when the clock hits the scheduled interview time, APScheduler finds the job, looks for the job ID, and calls the trigger interview. And from that point on, the flow is automatic. Resume gets parsed, the AI makes the voice call, the conversation happens, and the evaluation is set without a single person needing to intervene. It just works. That's the power of this setup. Now that we got the scheduling and triggering logic working, let's wire it up with Calendly so that everything starts the moment a candidate books their time. All right, now let's connect the final piece of our automation puzzle, Calendly webhooks. So what is Calendly? If you haven't used it before, it's a scheduling tool that lets candidates pick a time slot directly on your scheduler. We use it here to let candidates book their interview slot at their convenience. But the real power of Calendly isn't just the scheduling UI. It's what happens behind the scenes. Calendly can notify your backend anytime something important happens, like when a candidate books an interview, cancels it, or reschedules. And that's where webhooks come in. To subscribe to these webhooks, we send a post request to the Calendly API. In that request, we include a payload that tells Calendly where to send events, basically saying, hey, when something happens, hit this URL. We tell it we are interested in two events specifically, invitee.created and invitee.cancel. That means whenever someone books or cancels a meeting, Calendly will call our webhook URL and sends us the details. Now, one thing to note, if you got multiple types of events in Calendly, like maybe a 15-minute intro call and a 60-minute text screen, Calendly will notify you for all of them. So we need to filter down and make sure we only respond to the specific event type we care about. In our case, the technical interview. So how do we handle these webhook events in our app? It all starts with the endpoint in API interview routes.py. This is where incoming webhook calls from Calendly land. Inside the handler, we read the JSON body, extract the event type, like whether it was a booking or cancellation, and then inspect the Calendly event URL to see what kind of meeting it was. If it's not the type we care about, we ignore it. If it is relevant, that is, if it's the interview meeting, we use a function called dispatch event to send it off to the right handler. If it's not the type we care about, we ignore it. If it is relevant, that is, if it's the interview meeting, we use a function called dispatch event to send it off to the right handler. Now, dispatch event is like the traffic cop. It looks at the event type and decide what to do. If someone booked a meeting, it calls handle invitee created. If they cancelled, it calls handle invitee cancelled. Let's start with what happens when a candidate books a slot. Inside handle invitee created, we pull out their name, email, phone number, and schedule time. We clean up the phone number a bit, just in case it's in a weird format. Then we call upsert candidate from Calendly to either create a new row in Superbase or update an existing one. At that point, we have saved all the key candidate info and marked their status as interview scheduled. Then we call schedule_interview and pass in the candidate ID, the event ID, and the time. That schedules the interview inside APScheduler, fully automated. Now let's look at the cancellation path. If a candidate cancels the interview, we get that webhook too. In handle invitee cancel, we log the cancellation, update the candidate status to interview cancelled in Superbase, and return the candidate ID. Then the webhook handler calls cancel interview with that ID, and that removes the job from APScheduler. Clean and simple. So to recap what's going on here, Calendly sends all booking and cancellation events straight to our app. We filter out anything we don't care about, extract the key info, update our database, and either schedule or cancel the interview accordingly. It is fully automated. No one has to manually track anything or send reminders. And now that this webhook integration is wired up, we are ready to move on to the next part of the flow. Up next, we'll walk through how to configure WAPI to actually place the voice call, stream responses in real time, and bring the interview to life. This is a good logical place to stop this video. In this video, we saw how to test all our agents and simulate interview using LLMs. We looked at how we achieved end-to-end automation using APScheduler and Calendly webhooks, and how we wired everything together. In the next video, we move on to the most exciting implementation of this Recruiter AI voice assistant, the voice integration with WAPI. We'll also look at production-ready deployment and calculate cost for this whole implementation. If you're interested in videos like this, subscribe to the channel and hit the notification bell. If you're interested in building an AI-powered assistant like this, or would like to build something completely custom, or would like to explore how to integrate AI into your business, we can help. Schedule a free consultation call with us. Link is in the description. See you in the next video.